All right, check this out. So Dr. Kia Pruitt put some information up there, right? Now, this is why I know she go way back. And I'm gonna kind of play some of this stuff so you guys can hear it from another perspective. Now, I had something that I already had planned, so we're gonna go ahead and adjust ourselves, and then we're not gonna take too long on it, and then I'll leave some time. We can hit the panel and chop it up. But let's go into this.
Wipes out all your debt. Why is that? Because everything is prepaid. Everything is prepaid because of your birth certificate bond. Why? Well, I'm here to explain why that is. I have a couple other videos that explain exactly that, part one, part two, but this time we're going to go a little more in depth, okay, about what the birth certificate is. And let me begin something very interesting. You can definitely wipe out your any debt, whether it's judgments, lawsuits, credit card debt, child support debt, traffic tickets, anything, any violation, any charges with your birth certificate. Why is that? Okay, let me begin with this interesting blog that my friend Yarrow has posted on Facebook to kind of give you a little background first. Okay. Registration. Okay, so what the birth certificate is, it is a registration into a corporation. Registration means you are giving away ownership over to something else. So basically what happened, your birth certificate was a bond that your parents had no idea what was going on. They ended up having to sign it under duress, meaning they had no idea. They were told, they were forced to sign it, saying it was for something, you know, to protect, just to protect them, protect the children and all that. What was happening is they were signing a contract with no full disclosure of what the contract is. And if you know what a real contract is between two human beings with full disclosure of the contract, which is bilateral, where two people have to be in agreement, meaning two human beings, not a human being and a corporation. Okay, that is not what a contract is. It is two people, two human beings coming into agreement, into the same, you know, mutual agreement of bringing up a contract of, you know, what they want to accomplish, okay, with two signatures by two human beings, not a signature by a person who represents a corporation. No, it's two human beings, okay? And what the birth certificate was a contract without any full disclosure of what was really going on. And what they did was they ended up signing us off, registering us children off to the state where the state would own us, okay? And they would create a name which was in all capital letters. Now, not all birth certificates have all capital letters. It doesn't mean anything, okay? But from what we've gathered, the bills that we receive in the mail, it has to do with the all capital name. Let's say that you get a bill and your name's always all in caps. You're like, well, why? Well, that's not how your name is really written. What they tried to do with our name is turn our name into a legal fiction, which is what a person means. If you look at the Black Law Dictionary, edition 7, a person represents a legal fiction and a corporation. In order for these corporations, such as the United States of America Corporation, check that out on Dun and Bradstreet, in order for them to
Okay, so over the last few times, I've actually approached what the term person is. We pretty much knocked that out the park. Hey, what up, Darvis? Appreciate you coming over here. So under the circumstances, I pretty much knocked out the part what a person is. And if we want to go back to what a person is, you'll pretty much get a clearer understanding what a person is, right? So if you want to deal with these codes right here, right, go back to these codes right here. It'll tell you exactly what a person is. Now, what I'm going to do right here, because as you see, like this young lady is not what we consider to be first American Indian, Aboriginal, Indigenous, copper-colored people or woman. Okay, so what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show exactly how these people right here have actually been convinced that they are actually something different or sovereign than what something separate or sovereign or different than what she's actually depicting. Now, I remember this young lady. This was one of the ladies that came out with that crypto way back in the day. She was one of the ones that actually was pushing that. So while I pull these up, let's let her continue talking. Let her keep going.
Go to have joinder, basically, have joinder with you. You have to be a corporation, or your name has to be a corporation in order for them to do a contract with you or operate in commerce with you. Because a corporation cannot attack a human being, a living man or a living woman. You have to be in a contract, and which is what your parents did. They ended up signing you over to the state without knowing. Me too. I'm just as guilty. Okay. So let me go ahead and read a little background here about what the birth certificate is that Yaro brought up. It's really interesting. He got it from this article. So registration means enrollment. For example, students register to enroll in a school, which gives them certain rights and obligations. When it comes to the birth certificate, you're registering to enroll in the private federal democracy of the District of Columbia, aka the United States. You're registering to become a federal 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, which is a federal employee of the state.
Titan Sam, what's up? What's up, baby boy?
Okay, or of the corporation. The United States Corporation was created in Washington, D.C. You know, when you launch a corporation, those of you who have a business or have started a corporation, you have to launch it out of the city that you're in. And all the laws, the bylaws, they all apply to that city and to that state. Why is it when this corporation was launched, was the United States Corporation, which is found in Dun & Bradstreet, why does it apply to all the other states? Well, we get into that later on in my e-course if you're very interested in learning about this. But this is the way you're going to be able to take your freedom back. And yes, you can wipe out all debt. And yes, with the birth certificate, you can pay for things. You can purchase things, which I'm have found out that you definitely can do utilizing something called your signature. Why? Because you're a shareholder of the corporation. This is something they never told you.
Now, this is the one thing that I try to get people to understand. And this is where it relates to taxes and what you pay into in regards to live, right? This is just this is connected to consumer law. It's connected to consumer law. Anything that you use for personal and family purposes is outside the realm of a corporation. You're actually in more of the realm of a donor. And I touched on what a donor is from that perspective, right? But back in the day, what these people were miseducated on was the fact that they actually thought they was outside the United States government, which they're not. If you're not an American, indigenous, Aboriginal Indian that was connected to these nations and tribes back in the day, well, I'm using tribes loosely, you're a United States citizen. You are a person. That's all you are. And you agreed to be that. The only people on this continent here And we're just dealing with North America. The only ones that are actually considered to be outside of that, what she's talking about, is the indigenous American Indian. That's it. And that's all. Now, they've misunderstood.
Because you're registered as like a member of the corporate.
Now, they've misunderstood the language in this. So let's let her keep going.
Corporation in the United States, shouldn't you be a shareholder? Shouldn't you be getting some money every year, which is maybe $300,000 a year? I know that the Native Americans, some of them, I think the Cherokee, they have a casino. Well, everybody, all the money's distributed among everybody and everybody gets a check. Why aren't you getting a check? That's because you are the shareholder of the Corporation of the United States Corporation, which they did not let you know about.
Holy shit, listen to this. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, so the total amount is going to be $34,000.
34,000. Okay, and you're sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Wait, are you sure? Because my insurance only offered 4,000.
Based on all of the information, you qualify for $34,000.
So moving right along here, registration means recording, enrolling, inserting in an official register. Enrollment as registration of voters, registration for school, the act of making a list, catalog, schedule, or register, particularly of an official character or making entries therein. Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. But I had to throw that in there. So let me tell you, since we only have about 20 minutes on this video here that I want to explain to you. Because of this scenario that happened, and because we are not aware of this, we are the United States of America, or corporation, sorry, not America, not the Republic, not the country that the Republic was founded on, basically. The United States of America Republic, okay, was founded on by Thomas Jefferson, Washington, George Washington, and all that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about later on what happened, okay? And basically, what they've done is they created everything into corporations. They turned all the republics of the states.
All right, look, under the circumstances, you see what she said prior. We go back, I got a phone call.
Okay, and basically, what they've done is they created okay? And George Washington and all that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about later on what happened, okay? And basically, what they've done is they created everything into corporations. They turned all the republics of the states, okay, Thomas Jefferson. We are the United States of America, or corporation, sorry, not America, not the Republic, not the country that the Republic was founded on, basically. The United States of America Republic, okay, was founded on by Thomas Jefferson, Washington, George Washington, and all that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about later on what happened, okay? And basically, what they've done is they created everything into corporations. They turned all the republics of the states, like the California Republic, Alabama Republic, they turned them all into corporations. Again, look at Dun and Bradstreet, D-U-N-N and Bradstreet, for all the money's distributed. Because you're registered as like a member of the corporation in the United States, shouldn't you be a shareholder? Shouldn't you be getting some money every year, which is maybe $300,000 a year? I know that the Native Americans, some of them, I think the Cherokee, they have a casino. Well, everybody, all the money's distributed among everybody and everybody gets a check. Why aren't you getting a check?
There it is. Why ain't you getting a check? Because there's not a check for you to get. This is where she gets misunderstood in what's going on, right? Because she's actually thinking that you're supposed to get a check, but you're not supposed to get a check. You actually are signed up. Article 1, Section 2, right? Article 1, Section 2 deals with enumeration citizenship. Anybody to be enumerated, taxes, so on and so forth. So she's not supposed to get a check. She's supposed to labor. She is supposed to make sure that her constituents or her representatives are properly representing her in her endeavors in regards to the United States government. Those checks that was going to these Cherokee or these fake Cherokee that are now being kicked out, it's a whole different situation. What's up, T. Cortez? So under those circumstances right there, we are supposed to be getting them checks. That's what we're talking about, those annuities, that trust relationship that we set up through these contracts and treaties. There was no contract set up between them. Like she said, they're members of the United States. Voluntary members signed up in regards to being enumerated in order for them to get funding. That's what the gross domestic product is about, the GDP, right? Per capita, all these different things that you look at, everything you see on Wall Street, all that stuff is being moved around. The reason why we got pulled into that and they needed our help is for that reason. Because they couldn't handle their affairs. They kept going bankrupt. And at the same time, as you see, they're still bankrupt. Now, she's actually saying it, but she's misunderstood on what she's talking about. And anybody, now, I'm just saying, I brought this from Dr. Kia Pruitt, and sub up to her channel, good sister. But the misunderstanding is that that's not you. Under the circumstances, what she's actually saying in regards to these birth certificates is dealing with us, not them. They were to be enumerated. They were to be counted, not us. So when we actually did, this is what I'm saying. You got to take the bits and pieces that are actually true and correct and then apply it to yourself. But this other stuff she's saying within the information that she's given, absolutely false. They're not owed nothing. As a shareholder, as an investor, that's what we are. We are a shareholder and an investor at best dealing with the United States government because we fund them. We have funded them. So we're supposed to be seeing an ROI, a return on our investment. We're not getting a return on our investment. The best thing that they can do is get 24 to 30% of what they put into every year if they know what they're doing. There's no reason why they should be saying that they should be getting a $300,000 check. For what? Not based on how the system is set up. We're supposed to be getting that. You know why? Because they're doing business on our land. What land do you have that you're saying that you need to be getting a $300,000 check? No, you got to work for that. People don't understand the United States government is a chattel government. It's indentures all across the board. So under those circumstances, if you don't own land, which they can't, if you're not one of those ones up at top, you got a land patent, which they don't have, they can't get it, then you have no claim. But let's keep going.
That's because you are the shareholder of the corporation of the United States.
Yes, we are. I agree.
Corporation, which they did not let you know about.
She's talking to us, but she don't know she's talking to us.
So moving right along here, registration means recording, enrolling, inserting in an official register. Enrollment as registration of voters, registration for school, the act of making a list, catalog, schedule, or register, particularly of an official character or making entries therein. Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. But I had to throw that in there. So I let me tell you, since we only have about 20 minutes on this video here that I want to explain to you, because of this scenario that happened and because we are not aware of this, we are the United States of America, or corporation, sorry, not America, not the Republic, not the country that the Republic was founded on, basically. The United States of America Republic, okay, was founded on by Thomas Jefferson, Washington, George Washington, and all that.
Okay. So she's saying right now that there's another corporation, there's another entity. There's another entity out here. Yeah, Darvish, you already knew what I was going to do. You already know that's what's happening. So yeah, look out for me. We're gonna run through this and make sure you hit the panel so we can go at it after this. But yeah, so she's saying that actually that this United States corporation at this point in time is not the same as what it was founded on. Now, this is coming out of her mouth. And the reason why I'm not saying you have to, but this is why you should take into consideration what she's saying. What these people are saying, this is dinner talk table for them. They talk about this all the time. They know the system like the back of their hand because their ancestors were subject to it and created freedom based on the United States, giving them an opportunity to work and be free and be a part of the United States of America. So what she's saying is that she's a part of something different. There's a republic that is over here that is bound by the treaties and the Constitution. This United States corporation is not bound by the corporation. And all of these people have been signed up and have been mechanized and, I would say, given aliases in order to circumvent the Constitution. Go anywhere talking about a Constitution. Go anywhere talking about you're a public servant. Go anywhere and you're going to meet aggression. And you're going to get shut down. All right? So let's keep going.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about later on what happened, okay? And basically, what they've done is they created everything into corporations. They turned all the republics of the states, like the California Republic, Alabama Republic, they turned them all into corporations. Again, look at Dun and Bradstreet, D-U-N-N and Bradstreet for proof of that. And by doing that, they ended up privatizing everything. They privatized the courts.
It's not D-U-N-N, it's D-U-N and Bradstreet. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, she's regurgitating information. She don't know what the hell she's talking about. She is looking at her phone. She's got these things up here. And this is where a lot of people was getting in trouble. You see right up there, top right, you see right there, you say that line, USA is a corporation, lock up, D-U-N-N, Bradstreet. No, it's D-U-N, unless they change their name. So when you listen to her telling you as the Aboriginal American Indian what is happening. This does not pertain to them. This is where they was getting in a situation. This is where the sovereign citizenship came in. They didn't come in with no Moors, came in with these people right here misinterpreting the law and agreements and treaties. These people have no treaties. All right. Because she's talking about, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and what about him? Yeah, exactly.
Creditor companies, the banks, the judges, the cops, the IRS, all of them privatized. They are operating a for-profit corporation, and they are charging you, who is considered the debtor, okay? Why? Because the United States Corporation went bankrupt back in 1933. What happened was the federal...
You see, she jumped around right there. She just jumped around. She went from Thomas Jefferson and George Washington to 1933. What happened between there? That's a whole, what, 100 and something years? If I do the math correctly. It's about 140 something years. It's about 140 something, 46. 1787, right? To 1933. What happened in between there? She all over the place. I'm gonna dissect her. We're gonna get this right so people ain't confused and thinking that this is us talking this crazy shit. Nah, these people who ain't got the pot to piss in and window to throw it out of. No skin in the game. They have been given homestead rights, squatters' rights, and adverse possession. That's the only way they was able to get in, and was deputized and militia'd up. That's it. That's all they got. But right idea.
Reserve ended up making its way into the to Washington, D.C. and through the Treasury out, okay? And what the Treasury had at one time was Treasury notes, which was backed up by real gold, real silver. So they were holding on to our wealth. Our family had a lot of wealth. We had land, okay? And this applies to not only us Americans, also the people from the United Kingdom, Canadians, all over the world. All the gold from the world has been stripped from we, the people, from all over the world.
Say what? You see, she's struggling. She's tripping. She's tripping over her words. I mean, really? Your gold, your what? Yours? You are a first generation United States citizen. You are not anybody that comes from somewhere else. Now, this person could actually probably pass for a Native American. But she's stumbling over her words. She don't know what the hell she's talking about, and she's reading from a script. But she's actually, this is what we've been dealing with. These are people actually trying to say something, but then trying to assert that power or that wealth or that right or that claim over to them. Yeah, anyway.
By some elite few, okay? This is something that they haven't taught us in history books or in school. So basically what happened was, because we're in debt, they ended up collateralizing all of us, okay? They ended up bringing in the Federal Reserve notes, which have no backup like the Treasury notes used to have, okay? Because everybody that used gold and silver, according to the Constitution, currency can only come in gold and silver. There was no such thing as a Federal Reserve note. And a Federal Reserve note is your example of what a commercial lien is on the public. Okay, with no backup, no real money, no real backup at all. It's the only backup from the Federal Reserve note is from people's hard work and toil and labor. What happened was we were collateralized on the UCC1, which was a Uniform Commercial Code, which is international. We were collateralized as agriculture, okay, to take care of the debt that the United States corporation brought us all in, and they ended up using us as cattle to take care of it. There was money that was owed, supposedly back in the 1800s or way before that. Supposedly Queen Elizabeth owed money to King George or something like that. And then the Vatican was involved in that as well. And when the United States was created, or the corporation, it has been in a lot of debt since then. They say back in 1933, but it was way beyond that, way before that, okay? So they collateralized us, and by doing that, they ended up creating the birth certificate to register all of us as basically board members of the corporation, but not letting us know that we are also beneficiaries of this corporation. That is why they need your signature. Every single time you sign you sign a credit card or a slip. I'm sorry, like when you pay with your credit card or your debit card or whatever, or at the store, they always want your signature. Why? Because
Yeah, see, she's talking about shareholders and things like that. We know better, right? So at this point in time, we know better. That's bull, because those people that were considered to be white persons or free white persons, they are persons and persons and persons. They don't mention man, woman, none of that. These are persons. These are entities. Now, under the circumstances, you being a shareholder is saying that you have some form of stock. You got to prove that. Because if that's the case, what you're saying is that the birth certificate is some type of stock note that you actually agreed upon to be a shareholder, and you use that birth certificate to pay into the United States system. You got to actually prove that. And she can't. She can't prove that. The Internal Revenue Code specifically states that filing is voluntary, but based on what you file, there's options of how you want to file. So this just didn't happen in 1933. This just didn't happen. 1933 was the icing on the cake. What she don't know is the central banks, like the Federal Reserve Bank, they've been in America since these people came over here. And they've been in there. You got the first bank of the United States. You got all these different banks that was actually in there, central banks that was trying to operate. But those people back in the day, it was like, nah, we ain't doing that. We came from that. We came from that. We're not doing that again. We already know what happened to us. So the reason why we over here in America and we got kicked out or we had to move wasn't because of religious persecution. It wasn't because of ideology. It was because of financing and bad business. So
because that has a lien on that. Okay, they put a lien on that signature, and they've already done that.
That's wrong too. How would they put a lien on a signature? They ain't put a lien on a signature. I'm about to show you exactly. And I showed and I I kind of explained it very clearly on the other ones, right? Check these other ones out that I did, but I'm gonna keep going back over it. Ain't no way that she's talking about they put a lien on a signature. No, a signature is an endorsement. You either signed it specially or you endorsed it in blank. There's only two ways you can do it. Either way, you're still the creditor under the circumstances of how it is to be operated in the corporation. Before 1933, these people had no stake, no nothing. This was workers. I mean, they pretty much lived off the United States. They got housed, they had a job, they got fed, everything through the system. What happened was, in order for them to be mechanized, if I could use that word, like King was saying, they was mechanized. They was taught how to farm, all these different type of things. They was given this economic floor because before that they didn't have it. So what she's talking about and what everybody's talking about, even Tucker Carlson and these people be having these discussions like they actually been here 300 years. They only been here maybe 100, if that.
And that signature is worth millions or billions of dollars. I mean, I don't even want to get to that. I would say limitless.
And that's why you got all these people living good right now. It's just like an immigrant coming over here. These immigrants come over here to get A1 credit, they get bread, they get everything, they get set up properly. Just like these people. Now, why do you think all these pale skins got good money and they in positions right now? Because they understand the system. Who does not understand the system? Exactly. We don't understand the system as a collective. They know the system. I'm telling you, they talk about this at the dinner table. I can actually bring up so much stuff from these people right here. These people are the ones that created the sovereign citizen movement because they started going live with it. They was doing this privately. They felt like they had some type of atonement or something. You know what I mean? It was like some type of atonement because they started going public with it. Look, listen. They started going public with this stuff in the 80s. It seemed like they just woke up with a conscience because they banked off this system. The 1933 system, the New Deal, was actually for their benefit. That was for them to be able to compete with us, believe it or not. Let's get back to it.
Because we're limitless. Why is that, you're probably asking? It's because we come from the earth. We come from the earth. And in order for this high up so-called elite family, don't really know who.
You see what she's talking about? I mean, if you look at her talking, do she even believe what she's saying? I don't even think she believes. We come from the earth. Okay. All righty then.
They are really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Cannot put a lien on property. It has to be movable. And we come from the earth, so therefore they slapped a lien on us and slapped a lien on our signature. They've already done the UCC one on us. And that is why our UCC is a little different, because it brings us up to a more peaceful status, which is a non-adverse, non-belligerent, non-combatant party, which specifies a specific lien, which is maritime lien, or if you wanted to do agricultural lien. But some of the people that are doing the UCC ones, they're trying to find out why it's not working for them. Well, maybe it's because the UCC is not done correctly and there is no specification of what type of lien it is. So anyway, yes, we can use the UCC one when brought up to a higher level to put a lien on our government franchise or the birth certificate name. We call it the government franchise because, hey, they turned it into a franchise. That's why they're able to charge you for everything. So we have a way of taking care of it, of wiping out the debt, their debt, not our debt. It's a thing called forgiving their debt. Yeah, we talk about Nasara. I'm sure you've heard about that. Waiting for Nasara to come around. We don't need to wait around for Nasara. We can wipe out their debt by forgiving it. And how you're able to forgive their debt, is by signing it with your golden signature. You're the shareholder of a corporation.
I mean, this is tough for me, but I'm doing this for you. This is tough. See, she's talking about UCC ones, ag liens, and all this type of stuff, right? I got more heavy hitters that make it make sense, right? How the system is actually working. She's talking about your golden signature or whatever that you're talking about, right? But I mean, there's some truth to it, but the way she's explaining it, no bueno. So anyway.
Corporation, right? So by signing it with your golden signature, gets rid of all debt. And by doing that, you take back the estate or the birth certificate, which is a real estate. This is a bond. This is your estate that they have wrongly created without your knowledge, which is a felony, which is treason, which is.
Hey, put a 25 in the chat. If y'all can hear this. I'm still trying to figure this thing out. I want to make sure y'all can hear it. Can y'all hear it? 25. 25, 25. Put 25 in there. Somebody, anybody. Put a 25. 35. There we go, dude. Appreciate you.
So much horrible things that you can think of, which is genocide, you guys. This is genocide. So what we do is we create a UCC1 to bring us up to.
No, it's not. This is not genocide at all. Not for them. If Franklin Roosevelt, no, look, Franklin Roosevelt on back between Franklin Roosevelt and his uncle or cousin, Teddy Roosevelt. If they didn't do what they did, these people will still be poor living on the streets.
To a higher status with the protection of the Geneva and Hague, okay, Geneva Convention and Hague. And because we are putting ourselves on a not at war status, we are not at war, taking us out of the enemy of the state status, which they've enacted back in the early 30s, okay, that we are criminals of war. This is a real terrorist act that had happened back then. And it didn't just happen back in 1933. It goes all the way back to 1871, maybe even before that. But then some say it's even way to the Vatican.
Maybe. I've heard. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. So if she's going way back to the Vatican and she's talking about 1871, okay, where were you at this time? Who were the major parties? Yeah.
But I have videos explaining that. But back in 1871, what happened was our last president was Abraham Lincoln. Did you know that?
Really? Really?
He was the one who knew what was going on with the bankers. After all, that's what's going on between the government and the bankers. They're pretty much at war with each other, and they've been at war since then. What happened was Abraham Lincoln knew what was happening with the American people. He tried to bring back the greenback, issuing the treasury notes that had some backup, which was our gold and silver, okay, which was our wealth. And he
Exactly, none of your business. Exactly.
saw what the bankers were doing. They were bringing in their little FRN IOU notes, which is exactly what they are. FRN notes, your pounds, your Australian dollars, it's all of that.
Now, she's saying that Abraham Lincoln created these greenbacks because of the central bank. Nope. Abraham Lincoln stated, if I could have did this without freeing one slave, I would have did it. That means that you people was not in the conversation. The reason why he created all these greenbacks is because they was bankrupt and they had to figure out how they could try to flood the market with debt and to be able to compete against the South because we pulled out. Succession. We was like, nah, we cool. We bringing our money out. Y'all in debt. We ain't paying your debts no more. Period. That's it. That's all. She's trying to make it this personal thing, but it wasn't personal at all. Once the New Deal happened, I mean, after the emancipation, all these different type of proxies and these executive orders and all this other stuff, this national emergency, so on and so on. And I think she's going to mention it. That's what gave them an economic floor. That's it. It wasn't because the banksters was in here. No, and they were shutting the banks down. All these central banks that was coming in here, they kept shutting them down. They came in, people was bringing them in, and they kept shutting them down. That's another story.
Mexican peso. They're all funny money because they are all debt notes. Okay. The only way that
Just like greenbacks. Greenbacks wasn't backed by anything. And she's talking about their gold. Wasn't their gold. In order for it to be your gold, that means it has to be your land. And that way it means your mines. That means that it's your people that actually are living on top of the minerals. Nope. And no.
can overcome this debt is our golden signature. But he knew this. He knew that was going on. So what he did is he put a
Hit the like button. Hit the unlike button. Hit one of them buttons. I don't care what you do. Hey, share this out and tell everybody this is some bullshit over here. I don't care what you do. Just do one or the other.
a lien on all the Americans to protect them, to protect their wealth from the bankers. Okay. And so what he did was he invoked martial law, bringing him as.
Actually, just hit the like button and then just go on about your business. You ain't got to stay. Just hit the like button.
The commander in chief, which is like the CEO, not the CEO of the corporation.
Did she say the commander in chief is like the CEO? You see her looking over to the right? That might be her coach over there saying, nah, that's wrong.
Like what Obama is, because that's what he is. He is a CEO of a corporation.
Now you see how far along this is, like back in when Barack first got in office. This is like 2008, 2009. So she's saying Barack Obama is the CEO of a corporation. What you got to understand is that these presidents wear a couple hats. The president is the president of a corporation. The commander in chief is the guy that's over the military. That's your republic. Commander in chief, republic, president, corporation. Article 1, Article 2. Article 1, Article 2. All right.
Which is the United States corporation. So what Abraham Lincoln was, he went from president status to commander-in-chief status, where he had the opportunity to put a lien on all the states or the republic, okay? And
all right, let's clarify this. Abraham Lincoln became a president in the corporation aspect of it in order to put liens. You see hear what she just said? And you see her hands is moving around. She's conjuring right now. She's trying to find something to touch. Wait. Like she's, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's a bunch of bullshit. But she did tell you the truth. Abraham Lincoln put liens throughout all the Union, the 13 United States, that Union at that time. Anybody that was within that Union, outside the 13 United States, he put the greenbacks in place. And then he had the Union go along with that. And on top of some of these other newly incorporated or enfranchised states, to use her words, agreed to these greenbacks. That's what created the lien. Now, prior to what people might think, you can actually, there's a book that talks about the Uniform Commercial Code. That thing goes back, now I don't know if it's true or not, 6,000 years. So this is the trick. This is how, if you want to look at it from the indigenous perspective, this is how people was able to, well, not people, This is how the United States of America, the government, was able to start occupying some of these areas that wasn't allotted to them, that wasn't ceded or granted to them for operation. And this is where you see, if you look into the records, where you see some of your people fighting with the Union. Whether it's true or not, whether the papers are false or not, this is what they're showing. This is what you call prima facie evidence. But she said from one time he went from the president to the commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief was always the commander-in-chief. That's what George Washington was. He was commander-in-chief of the military.
What happened was the Constitution was really in effect around that time. But when the bankers came involved, what happened? He got murdered. So therefore, he was only putting it on in martial law, okay? And what happened was the Constitution was really in effect around that time. But when the bankers came involved, what happened? He got murdered. So therefore, he was only putting it on in martial law only for a little bit until the bankers gave up and left, and then brought everything back under the Constitution and everything. Now, in the Constitution,
y'all believe that? See, she's double talking. So he created martial law, the Emergency Powers Act. He did all that. And then they took him out. And then you telling me that the vice president could not remove that martial law. You see what I'm saying? No, and no.
it is written that there are 13 colonies, okay? This was the estate. The estate was fractured back then. It's been fractured since then. So what does that mean? When it's fractured, the Constitution no longer applies.
All right. You know what I mean. I mean, what sense does that make? If you have an estate, that means you have land, you have real property, like real, something that can be realized. Like, what is she talking about right now?
Abraham Lincoln got murdered. That was the murder of our last president. Therefore, the Constitution, any of that, none of those laws applied anymore.
Abraham Lincoln was duped into doing that. He did not want to create those greenbacks. He had no choice. He had to do it, and he knew that was going against the Republic. He knew when he did that it was a done data. Now, why they put him down was the simple fact that, okay, you did our job. Okay, cool. You turned yourself into from a king to a pawn. So you gave your seat up, and that's what happens.
Okay, because the estate was fractured, which involved the 13 colonies. So, I mean, there's a lot.
Now, there's something that she just said right there. I can roll with. She's saying even during the Civil War in 1860, during the Civil War in the 1860s, there were still only 13 colonies. People like say, yeah, we was incorporated there. No. The 13 colonies are the 13 colonies. That's it. Anything that came outside of that came from some form of proxy. Because they was only supposed to get 13. It was only 13 United States. Anything that came after that, there had to be a treaty that established that relationship. Okay?
A lot more going on that meets the eye, but I'm just kind of giving you a background of what the birth certificate really is. You know, when you look at that, when you look at your vehicle registration, when you register, what is registration again?
Yo, what up, David?
you're registering over to the state. Okay, so the way that we handle things, the way that we handle these entities, knowing what happened, knowing what wrongfully happened, we grow up a little bit. And by growing up, we tend to say, you know what, we don't want to fight. We're not at war with any of you. Whatever happened back then, that was back then. And we're here, we're waking up now to who we really are. We're becoming more conscious. We're becoming.
Now, if you guys look at David Wright, 9397. David used to play for me back in 2012, 11, 10, 11, 12, 10, something like that. Yeah, he's a trainer now and he's doing good things. Young brother, appreciate you being there, David.
More responsible to take full responsibility of our own person, and therefore we become secure creditors.
All right, that's enough. That is enough. Now you actually can. You can actually see where they have the information kind of confused a little bit. They got the situation confused just a little bit. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how to work this stuff. Yeah. This is where they got the information confused. Actually, you see that she actually, Kay Glover, man, look, sis, I'm glad you are here. You know, I've been thinking about you because the information we gotta build. So what I'm gonna do right here, and then I'm gonna open the panel up. What am I on? 139? Dang it. Past my 90 minutes. All right, look. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me pull this up. Let's deal with this real quick. Let's pull this up real quick. All right. Let's go over person. She kept saying person. Term person means an individual, corporation, business, trust, estate, trust, partnership, governmental agency, or any other legal or commercial entity. All right. Here we go. Person means a natural person, partnership, association, other unincorporated body, corporation, or body politic. Okay. All right, let's get over to the next one. Person means any individual, corporation, partnership, association, unit of government, or legal entity, however organized. All right, employee. Purpose of this chapter, the term employee includes an officer, employee, or elected official of the United States, a state, or any political subdivision thereof, i.e. the Department of, or the District of Columbia. The term employee also includes an officer of a corporation. Employer means the person for whom an individual performs or performed any service of whatever nature as the employee of such person. So if we're looking at these definitions, I want you to think about what we know and what we talk about in the conversation of who is actually the employer. Now, if she would have came from that perspective, right? If you're considered to be a member or a stockholder, a member, like an LLC, you could be a member or you could be a manager, right? You could be one or the other. if you are a member of the United States, right? If you sign up to be with the United States, then you actually have some stake, right? Because you got to pay dues, you got to pay membership dues, right? I got a basketball program, right? For instance, David will tell you, we have this, we got practice, we got training, we got to travel, we got tournaments, we got this, that, and other. They got to pay a membership fee in order for me to provide the services for them, right? So that's how it works. Now, she called it a for-profit. That's not what it is. If you're considered to be a shareholder or a member, right? What a lot of people don't understand, you can actually form an LLC and file the necessary applications and make that LLC a not-for-profit corporation or tax-exempt corporation. You can actually do that. So we have that here. Now, here's the other thing I want to pull up. Check this out. Now, I was just going through something I could pull up because, Rakim said it ain't where you from, it's where you at. I think it ain't where you at, is where you're from. See, if you at where you at, that don't mean you forget where you come from. So, white slavery as the cause of the American Civil War. So right here, it says, it is interesting, right? It is interesting to note that one of the causes of the American Civil War, also known perhaps more correctly as the war between the states. Oh, she left that out. Was the threat of slavery to the white working class in the North of the USA, or the United States of America. So let me read that again. It is interesting to note that one of the causes of the American Civil War, also known perhaps more correctly as the war between the states, was the threat of slavery to the white working class in the North of the USA. Now it says Lawrence R. Tenzer and A.D. Powell have produced research into this little known subject. The institution of slavery had existed in every one of the northern states throughout the colonial period, and such slavery was not limited to black slavery. White political prisoners and petty criminals from Britain were sold and brought to the colonies as slaves. During the 1850s, and when you see the ... before during, that means there's other information in there that is not relevant to this topic. During the 1850s, the South's plan to nationalize slavery was merely to reintroduce it in the North, where it had previously existed just 50 to 75 years earlier. With so many white partisan slaves in the South to begin with, the idea of expanding slavery to include white laborers in the North moved slavery from a matter of color to a matter of class. Southern politicians frequently pointed out that the slavery in Greece and Rome was based on social status, not on color. They also called attention to the fact that the slavery in the Bible was not Negro slavery. I ain't got no bomb. Bam, bam. Give me the bomb. Bam, bam. Bam. Okay, so let's just stop right there. I mean, let's take a break from this. Okay, so if it's not, I need to look at the chat. If it's not, wait a minute. What? What had happened? What had happened? I mean, you got these people. It's like we're dealing with that right there. Uh-huh. That right there. Misinformed. Like not necessarily lying, but necessarily trying to put herself in that story when it had nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with her people. Because you trust and believe that you was not here during the Civil War. Sub up to Dr. Kia Pruitt. All right, so look. So we have now established that with these people, Lawrence R. Tenzer and A.D. Powell, we got that right there. So we gonna view these people and see what they're talking about. All right. So right here, political materials for the presidential campaign of 1856 include references to the literal enslavement of white people. Political materials for the presidential campaign of 1856 include references to the literal enslavement of white people and illustrated the extent to which the idea had developed. Now, who was the president in 1956? $18.56, my bad. Okay. Franklin Pierce was the president of the United States for the entirety of 1856, as he served from 1853 to 1857. However, James Buchanan was elected president in November 1856 and took office in 1857, defeating John C. Fremont, and Miller Fillmore. Okay, so all right, we got that. So in their campaign, enslavement of white people is illustrated. Now, I know that a lot of the people will say, okay, free white persons or white status, meaning you was a landowner, so on and so forth. And those people actually were melanated people, copper colored or whatever. Under the circumstances, okay. So that might be another issue that needs to be tied in, right? Reparations, restitution. Here we go. The famous Richmond Inquirer reference about slavery not depending on difference of complexion in the laws of the slave states justifying the holding of white men in bondage was cited along with this quote from a leading South Carolina newspaper. It's coming out of South Carolina. Slavery is the natural and normal condition of the laboring man, whether white or black. Okay. Slavery is the natural and normal condition of the laboring man, whether white or black. All of the talk during the campaign of 1856 about the South enslaving Northern whites, took on profound meaning after the Dred Scott decision. allowed slavery into the territories. Another Dred Scott decision would allow slavery into the free states of the North. In either case, free white labor would have to complete with slave labor and could not survive because the average daily wage of little more than $1 will become 10 or 25. I don't know what that looks like. It looked like a little 6 or whatever. I don't know. White laborers who fell into poverty will be sold into slavery for debt. As the new democratic doctrine said, all that the northern white labor requires is somebody to sell him when he falls into poverty. In his book, A Journey into the Back Country, Frederick Law Olmsted asserted, nothing in fact but the enslavement of labor at the North could in the nature of things give that security to the capitalists of labor at the South. So what this guy is saying right now is saying that enslavement of labor at the North helped out the South. Now, this is where you get back into your treaties, right? Right? You got the Treaty of New York with the upper and lower creeks, with the Seminoles saying that, hey, we're going to do business. We're going to conduct trade and commerce for the Creeks and the Seminoles. And these people, which is you consider to be the United States citizen and was supposed to be carried out by the United States citizens as laborers to labor. So, while it is far more obvious that Negroes should be slaves than whites, the principle of slavery is itself right and does not depend on difference of complexion. Okay. Well, we're going to stop right there. Okay, so what we're looking at is a quagmire. But I want to show these things of what's happening at that time. So her depiction of the Civil War, what the United States did in 1933 and what all right, okay, Darvis, I got you. No doubt. Appreciate you even coming. So what I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to put the chat in the link in the chat. Hold on, how do I do that shit? Man, I'll be forgetting how to do that. Let me see. Banner, media. Nope, that ain't it. Style. Nope, that ain't it. Nope, that ain't it. People. I know how to do it. Private chat, recording, banners, comments. I don't know how to do that. How do you do that? All right, so look, I'm just gonna do it right here. Copy. Gonna put it in there. Boom. There it is. That's StreamYard right there. You want to hit it? Hit it. Hey, K Glover L. That's my email. Send me an email. Yeah, I want to talk about a couple things, but if nobody really wants to hit the panel, if you got any questions, you can put them in the chat. I didn't want to go too long on this, but I want to kind of hit this situation because, you know, the misunderstanding of what's happening here is something that is very interesting. You see what I'm saying? Naughty.
Yo,
Yo, yo, yo, what up, Natty?
yo, what's going on? Everybody good?
Yeah, we all good. Yep. So, I mean, what you think about that? You remember that girl I put up there that video? You remember her? I
Nah,
mean,
I ain't
she's
never seen her before.
you never seen her before? Yeah, I mean, back in like 2008, 9, 10. Yeah, she was really active getting that information out. I learned about Bitcoin from her. She was talking about Bitcoin way back then. Yeah,
Mm.
but now that I know more, she's way off. I mean, I understand
Let
where she's
me
coming from. Yeah, I understand where
before
she's
my
coming from.
shit go out. Yeah. I get what she trying her best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She talking something she ain't gone through yet. That's what she doing. She talking from a premise of other talking points. So I seen someone none your business. Bliss up. I seen none your business put in the chat. There's nothing against you, Empress. It's just information, and I don't like to for no one to think I going against them because I'm not. I just try to provide information.
Come on,
So
man.
the initial
Get it off. Get it off, man. You an elder, bro.
you,
Go get it off.
you got an initial treaty in 1763, I think it is, with Canada,
Uh-huh.
I identifying the Indian tribes as individuals under citizenry. Doctors, lawyers, the ones that could proficiently read and write, they came up under a treaty. An act, not a treaty, an act. Okay, hold on. So
Uh-huh.
in 1763, it was more or less a decree.
Uh-huh.
Um, Let me think on what came.
I think he went out. Hey, y'all don't have to stay up here. Just hit the link, say hi, and get off the panel. If
Yo, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think it was King George the Third,
Mm-hmm.
1763, 68, around that time, one of them time. King George the Third, I believe it was. And there was a decree, um, a royal proclamation is what it would be. What it'll be. Then
Mm-hmm.
you have a treaty of Fort Stanwix.
Okay.
That's gonna be 1768. That's gonna be the Indians in Canada, or America wasn't America really for real at that time. So the king had already wrote a proclamation.
1768.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you got a Trade and Intercourse Act
Yep. Yep.
of I think it's 1790. Then you have a um
Yep.
you have the Indian Appropriation Act of 1871. All these acts, if you go through these acts, all of these acts are putting putting Indian individuals from under the tribe and affiliated them as citizens. Period. Whether you like it or not. If you was over the age of 21 and you was come out of a tribe, whether you like it or not, you was a citizen.
Okay.
They reinforced it in 1871 with the Indians Appropriation Act. Now, if you go and look up individual definition 1048, also in Cornell's definition, um, an individual is a United States citizen and their affiliations or the governed under that such said jurisdiction. That's what an individual is. An individual that has rights and has duties under such rights. Now it is state natural person. It is a natural or legal person, natural or legal entity which is identified by rights and hold an obligation to such rights. That's what an individual is. So when people thinking and oh shit, it's cool out there, man. Cheese and bread, I shaking. I thought I can come out there and have more privacy, but it's kind of cool outside. So what I gotta say? I was at individual. Individual, it might state natural person here or there. Natural something. You also have an individual identification under 1048. It's going to be up under the children, woman, male, anyone born, anyone living, but it's still going to be up under a natural a right that's given from the United States, and they got to be affiliated with the United States as citizens to be identified as an individual. Individual is not for the non-citizen. Oh shit! I'm gonna go back in the house. Fuck this shit.
I see your teeth chattering, boy.
Yeah, yeah, God, yeah. I thought I'd come out here and talk like I want to talk, but fuck that, bro. Then you're gonna have to take it in the house. Try to give them a little honor and respect in there. They don't want to get me getting crazy and shit over the internet. So, and anytime they hit me on the internet now, they already buckling up the whole house. Oh shit. Okay, let me turn on a goddamn stove light for my motherfucking ass. Shit. All right, and get back in it. So, um, Indians was identified as wards all the way back in Canada, proclamations, royal proclamations. And in that royal proclamation of 1763, I believe it says something along the lines of um, no non-citizen or without the royal decree can purchase Indian territory, Indian land. Only the royal decree can purchase Indian land, which in turns make those Indians citizens or wards, make them wards, place them as wards by the purchase of their territories.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to understand that we have to understand, and we're not really catching on that the United States is not America. We have to come to that grip. Once we come to that grip, then we can kind of understand everything else that comes along.
Okay.
You
And you
had your
said that.
Indian tribes. You had your Indian tribes during the Civil War. They did side with the Confederate majority of the war, but they was as well as using greenbacks and $5 silver certificates of the United States for their trades and their merchandise. So that fucked up the whole country again. That's placing the country under a United States um, 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 hold of an account, placed us under the debt with the United States.
Okay, so that Indian Appropriations Act, there was one in 1851 before 1871. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was, but it ain't as stipulated as the one like in 71. The one in 71 is going to be the new United States after the Civil War. Because remember in 1852, the Continental Congress walked out of the United States Congress, Capitol Hill, and there was a hijack. After that, after the Civil War, there's a false United States came in and applied their own Congress. So that's what made that de facto at that point, and a de facto state.
Well, okay. Yeah, I'm reading this right now. So they were moving people from they was moving Western tribes into Indian reservations. So that's Oklahoma. Okay.
When you go through that Appropriation Act, it give you the identity of it was identified as wards from 1790. Hold on, let me think.
But the way these treaties are being lined out, this is how I look at it, right? Going back to the Fort Stanwicks. Uh, let me read this so I can make it make sense to me, really. The Treaty of Fort Stanwicks was a treaty signed between representatives from the Iroquois and Great Britain in 1768. It was negotiated between Sir William Johnson, his deputy George Croghan, and representatives of the Iroquois. The treaty established a line of property following the Ohio River. Line of property is the name commonly given to the line dividing Indian lands from those of the 13 colonies. Okay, bingo. All right, this is important then. Following the Ohio River that ceded the Kentucky portion of the Virginia colony to the British Crown. Now, you remember the last time I pulled
Yeah,
up,
it's
I showed what ceded means. They
that
think
was
ceded means given up. Still owned it.
that act, the 1768 Act, actually is holding anything prior pre the Appalachian. So from the Appalachians on back, they claiming that land. From the Appalachians westward, it's still identified as Indian territory, and you got to have royal proclamation or royal decree to purchase any of that land.
Okay, so now this is before the United States. Now this is Great Britain.
Canada. That was Canada, but it's still representing all of the whole of the Americas. Canada was identified from the Britons in a Britain aspect as the whole of Americas, from the tip of the Appalachians all the way down to the bottom tip of the Appalachians. That was
Okay.
identified as America, Canada, but it wasn't America. America. It was just the Canada proclamations or royal proclamations that ran from Canada. 'Cause that's all they identified was Canada. It wasn't America at the time.
So was
They
Great
didn't
Britain?
identify America.
Oh, okay, so what you're saying is, I don't know. Are you saying that Great Britain was controlled by Canada, or
No,
are you
no. I'm
saying?
saying
Oh,
Great Britain controlled Canada. The when they first wrote their proclamations, it was labeled Canada because it wasn't no America at the time. And the
okay,
borderline of that identification was the Appalachian Mountains, all the way
okay.
from south to north
Oh, okay, for sure. All right, all right, all right. Now the
until
second
until the
paragraph.
colonists. Go ahead.
Okay, so the second paragraph says the treaty established a line of property following the Ohio River. The ceded Kentucky portion, da 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 da, as well as most of what is now West Virginia. The treaty also settled claims between the Iroquois and the Penn family. The lands acquired by American colonists in Pennsylvania were known as the New Purchase. So in this treaty part, right, the purpose of the conference was to adjust the boundary line between Indian lands and the 13 colonies outlined in the Royal Proclamation. I think the Royal Proclamation, that was that. Is that King George?
King George III.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the British government hoped the new boundary line might bring an end to the rampant frontier violence between the Indians and American colonists. Native Americans hoped a new permanent line might prevent further encroachment of their lands from the colonists. So we seeing right here that these treaties were established to make sure that their citizens or the colonists within the United States didn't encroach upon. So we still see a separation. So how can Indians then be subject to that when these treaties are still trying to prevent encroachment on their lands? Not you still there? Not. Okay, so when Nadi come back, that's a question. That's why I was trying. That's what I'm showing. That's what I'm showing is that these treaties are to make sure that the people do not encroach on Indian land. What you talking about in your business? Say, hold up, swole up, huh? So he'll be back. So under the circumstances like this treaty is actually showing that there's no encroachment. So there can't be any type of subjectivity to the indigenous nations through these treaties. All these treaties is showing that there is no encroachment. No. Prevent further encroachment of their lands from the colonies. So them expanding their boundary line, right? So you say, okay, you guys getting bigger, you're expanding, so we'll give you a couple more lines, we'll give you some more territory in order for you to operate your business. But what we want to make sure you do is don't encroach outside of that. So even during this time, okay, the final treaty, and then the president representatives of the colonies of New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, the Native American nations, the Indian nations, present received gifts. The indigenous nations present received gifts in cash totaling $10,467. So I guess they're saying 10,460 pounds during that time. 7S 3D sterling, the highest payment ever made from the British Crown to the indigenous nations or the Iroquois. So they paid for it. Treaty established a line of property which extended the earlier proclamation line of the Alleghenies. Okay, he back.
Yeah, mic check.
Yeah. I can hear you now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had a phone call come in.
So they got paid. So the indigenous nations right here got paid by the British Crown. So these agreements are with the British Crown. It's not between this United States. So
But
are are the
that's what
United
the
States trying
colonists That's what the colonists were, though. The reason for the 1768 proclamation is to create colonies that wouldn't be disturbed by the Indians.
and vice versa, right?
These colonies, the original colonies, are Britain. That's Britain. The colonies constructed their own sovereignty outside of Britain, but they was already foreign. Just adopted to the land under a freedom act or um, separated themselves from Britain by way of this land, but they're still foreigners. I don't know why we're not understanding these things. The whole Revolutionary War was them separating from Britain because that's where they was from. They're not from America. Well, we keep coming, this is the big problem with our community. Keep thinking that United States is us. It's not. It never started as us, and we never was a part of it. We got hijacked into it.
I agree.
Hijacked.
I agree.
So you have a 1730 treaty that came act that came through 1730 that made every Indian that could read, write, either in French, and that was in the 1768 one too. Read If you could read, write in French or English, or you was a lawyer or a doctor or anything, you was guaranteed took up on the citizen, whether you liked it or not. You was
Mhm.
made foreign because it was a foreign academic. All of it. As an indigenous people, we practice herbalistic things. We practice more in the terms of voodoo and tribal even in that act of the proclamation of 1768, it refrains from sun dances and fellowship under Indian communities in that 1768 proclamation, royal proclamation.
Mhm.
So I'm not seeing why the people is trying to identify with this United States thing when it's not. It's not. We keep trying to get a some type of remedy from the United States, but it's not acquiescence of affiliation. It's a fraud affiliation. We're committing fraud, whether you're in knowledge of it or not. Long as you affiliated or participate in fraud, you're perceived to be in fraud, whether you
Mhm.
know it or not. So that's what we're doing. We're moving under fraud by identifying with these names. United States got a law. I gotta find it. I gotta go back and look it up. They got a law that from the age of four, it used to be 7 or something like that. It's the age of 4 now, 5. The age of 5. If you don't have your status in correction at the age of 5, you're operating under fraud. You can be in prison indefinitely without trial, jury, or judge.
Mhm.
Do we understand what those words mean? So they telling us when we come up and we go first inside of them kindergarten, and they teach us how to write our name in ABCs, all caps. You got to remember, we write in our names when we little. We kindergarten, they only teaching you capital letters to write. The color. When you go in there and you write your name on something, and you're in representation of that from the age of 5, you're representing that fraudulent individual, and you're operating as it, and that's not you. That belongs to the United States, not you. So if you don't correct it and use it in the proper format, you're operating in fraud. I don't know why we can't get that in our head. People want to fight Natty down. All they want to do is chat, 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 but they're not doing any real investigating and reading. Oh, you from the VI, or you don't have the right to tell. Man, look, this shit is all the way around the world. Everyone is operating in fraud. If you have a birth certificate, if you gone to them hospital, if you're using an access in that entity that they created, you didn't create that. That birth certificate said the state of Illinois. That birth certificate said the state of California, state of Alabama. It don't say um um Aton state. You didn't create that entity, but you're using it. Are we catching?
Oh yeah, you already know you preach to the choir, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you already know.
I
You
already
already know
know.
I'm with that. I'm with that. Yeah, I look at it like this, right? And the more that get into the politics and civics and within the relation with the Indian tribes and the nations, it's a lot more. It's like, I mean, you got a whole lot more power within working from that perspective than the other ones do. I mean, if we actually came in, right? If we was, if what you're saying is correct, uh, and everything that was done by proxy, I like using the word proxy, and they actually, I mean, if we have treaties that were set up, we have borders that were set up. I'm like, I mean, everything that we do in this thing is funding the system as it is, and there's a return on an investment that or recoupment that needs to be addressed. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Well, didn't you just say that that woman sitting up there trying to claim the birth certificate as an investment ledger, she has no proof that she invested a goddamn thing?
That's what I'm saying. Look,
You
that's
see
what
what I'm
I'm
saying?
saying.
That's not her shit. That birth certificate is not her shit. And she ain't even saying anything about getting it authenticated, which show that the evidence of the fraud is being created by the individuals who created it. This is why you want to get it an apostille authentication on the certificate. So show that the United States is who created this fraud. The state of Illinois is who created this fraud. But by this creation of this fraud, and it's in their recognition under their jurisdiction, I have all rights by 9/10 of the law having it in my possession, have the right to its use without being identified as fraud, as I'm operating in fraud. That's what you want to do. This is a reason why you go through these certain things of getting these certain documents authenticated. It's also in the UCC. Need every title needed to be authenticated if you're gonna actually claim it. Not just authenticated, apostille. You want it apostille, so it can show without a doubt that it was created by a different entity under their own premise. But now you have it in your possession. You have all rights of creating it in your own liking now. Even though they created the fraud, they put that's what the authentication is. They admitting to the fraud that they created statewise and apostille through the state government, federal government. They're recognizing they created this fraud and holding accountability for it. Now you have it in your hand. Now you want to go and make it what you want to make it out of an entity, a business entity, a corporate entity, so it can operate in their jurisdiction as a citizen,
So one of
not
the
you.
circumstances, right? There has to be some. Okay, so what is the rule in regards to what can and what cannot be authenticated? There has to be something. You can't authenticate everything, can you? I mean, what is the
Mhm.
foundation of getting things authenticated? It has to be a rule. I mean,
Any
if I write my name on a piece of paper, I can authenticate that.
anything you go and get notarized, you can get authenticated. A notarization is an authentication. But on top of that authentication of a notary, you want to get it apostille at the same time. That's going to show a letterhead of authentication after you get your documents notarized and apostille.
Okay, so
Apostille.
anything that I get, I mean, that's either acknowledgement or a jurat. So anything that's acknowledged
Mhm.
in jurat and testified to and affirmed, that can get authenticated. Or
Yes,
you
sir.
get apostille on it. You get apostille on it. All right.
That's going to be the authentication for your personal jury, jury the
Okay.
reservation.
Now,
Titles. Titles are could get authenticated. Coins can get authenticated. Um, Literature can be authenticated. Yeah, you can that's when you go and do a trademark or a patent on your writings or something like that. That's an authentication form of authentication.
okay, so you saying titles can. So anything that's a title, anything
Yeah.
that has some type of certificate of title can be authenticated.
Yes.
It don't have does it have to be a certificate of title? What if it's title and it's just notarized? Is that good enough?
Yeah. The certificate of title, a title itself, because the certificate of title is in representation or in placement of the title.
Oh sheesh. I don't know this shit that good. I tread lightly on this.
You know
You know,
enough.
I'm
You
just
know
saying.
enough, goddamn.
I'm just saying. I like my freedom. But all I'm saying, under the circumstances, I mean, I'm bullshit, but I played around with some of this stuff. But you're saying, well, I don't need to go. We don't need to go back over that. Got you. 10-4. Now look, I would say this: under the circumstances, once that thing happens, right? Full faith and credit. Let's talk about full faith and credit, right? Okay, we deal with Article 4. Let's play around with this shit, right? We deal with Article 4. We deal with Article 4. What did it say? Before presenting the screen, remove other media. Okay, so remove. All right, so look. Full faith and credit, man. Full faith and credit. Articles 4, right? All right. So Article 4 of the Constitution says full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may, that means they don't have to. They can if they won't. By general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, recordings, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effect thereof. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. So, full faith and credit.
When it says the Congress may, hey,
Mhm.
when it says the Congress may, who are them articles written for, bro? Is that written in the aspect of the people, or is that written in the best ability for the Congress?
Well, that's to their benefit.
All right. So that article is just a bunch of bullshit too.
Not necessarily.
Shit,
I
me.
mean, I wouldn't
What
call. I
Indian?
wouldn't.
What Indian tribe? What Indian tribe affiliated with them articles, bro? Besides them five civilized tribes that was identified in that 1788 Royal Decree or proclamation. Royal Proclamation actually It's prior to the United States coming in. And then the United States ran with them same tribes. That whole goddamn shit is bullshit. All of it. It's supposed to be thrown in the fire. We ain't got shit to do with none of that. Not as a republic. And you remember the United States actually then started taking the state of democracy to what, 1840?
Okay.
So in the beginning of the shit is not representing a republic in the articles. When it says made, they made, that's not identifying as a republic. That's showing democracy. All the way
Right.
back then, prior to the Constitution. So what this democracy shit been in the game from day one? But they've been fooling us and tricking us and saying it hasn't been until they got a democratic party, which isn't true. A democracy was way. That's even how they even was able to get a democratic party, because it was already stipulated as a democracy in the fucking articles by just the language itself. May the Congress may? Nah, bro.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sir. That language right there is showing democracy for an individual that really know how to read legalese. Just that phrase alone.
Okay, so in the breakdown of section 1, they're saying that
Shut up! Man, let this damn dog go.
so it says the Constitution's full faith and credit clause mitigates that risk by adjusting the state's interrelationships. The clause requires each state to give full faith and credit to the public acts of every other state, such as other states' statutes. Clause also requires states to give full faith and credit to the records and judicial proceedings of every other state. Man, okay. All right, so look. Now I hear what you're saying. Now, under the circumstances, this is where they're actually manipulating this interpretation, right? So, and this is how the plenary laws is what I've been, these plenary powers that I've been talking about, is how they're actually taking it to the Supreme Court and trying to convince them of something so they can interpret it a specific way. So, full faith and credit means this: whether I'm in California, even if I'm in California, what has actually been passed in Minnesota stands here, because you're dealing with the union, which is uniform. Everything needs to be uniform across the board. So if it's an act, right? This is what they're saying. If it's an act, any type of records and judicial proceedings of every other state. So if one says this, if I'm in California and then this and the state of Minnesota says this, I could pull from the state of Minnesota that says this. You got to correct that. What is the difference? We got to analyze that. You see what I'm saying? That's the issue of what I'm seeing right now. Where things have been tricked. So if you actually come into, right, especially dealing with our people, right, if we're actually coming to the court, they're actually interpreting a certain type of way, and they're actually utilizing Congress, right? What you're saying, Congress may. So that means they can come in and do whatever they want to do in order to maintain, their protections over the people. So if that's the case, then you this is definitely not a republic. It's definitely a democracy, like you're saying. So if it's a democracy, then this is something that's operating way outside the bounds of the treaties and the Constitution. This is something totally happened in a de facto state. Is
Right.
that am
And
I in the ballpark?
yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate. And we're not identifying with the separation. So we're thinking that a state like Texas, or i.e. a state that they identify under their union, is a state of republic, and it's not, because it's unified. It's a state of democracy. All the United States is all unified. Unless one individual create their own e-state and then is in representation of their own state. Now they have the right to have bridges and contracts with the Congress, agreements with the Congress. But when you fall up under a state that's identified under the Union, you're under the democracy. You're not under the republic. You're not cited as the republic at all. You check it out.
Uh-huh.
The Congress has right to rule and authorize its authority, uh, uh, um, stand its authority over the union of the states, because the states are created from the United States. All of the states are created. Before the United States, there was just colonies. Before it was actually a state, it was territories of Indian territories, so colony, and the territory of this, the territory of that. Pennsylvania wasn't a state. Pennsylvania was a family, the Penn family, that did a goddamn um agreement with the King George III, who identified it as a state by way of the colony. So all these states was identified through the foreign government, this foreign entity, United States. And if you're falling up under that state, you're ruled under the Congress. But if you don't fall under those states, you fall up under that Indian trading with Congress and not being taxed, because you'll be your own individual territory, or identified as your own individual territory as a state, not as the union, state of the unions, but your own private state.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't explain the private side in this public venue. And that's the mistake too. They never come and show you the other side of the coin. They just give it to you from the premise of being within their house, their rules, their notifications. So that's all anyone identify under, as their rules, their notifications. But you have the right to govern yourself and create your own governing system or state. You have that right, but we're not taking it. We're not processing it, that information. Only way you're going to be identified is through commerce. You're not going to be identified in their system as a natural man or a natural woman or none of that. When you come in their face, you got to have some
Mm-hmm.
sort of representation. Do we understand this?
Mm-hmm.
We got to have some sort of whether it's our own representation up on our state or it's up under their state. We're going to have some sort of representation when we're dealing in commerce. And what they did is identified everything under commerce, even the living body, as chattel, um, um, mortgage, what they call it, mortgage property, under insurance clause. Who's representing that insurance, that bond on an insurance? The insurance company. Who's representing the individual under their shadow? The state. What state of the union. Okay, well they under all these regulations if they under the state of the union, because all states by faith, good faith and credit. What you just called
Right.
out
Right. Yeah. Full faith and credit.
under the good faith, faith and credit, all the states is identified under this regulation. Anything comes up under that regulation, falls up under that regulation, is in that regulation too. U.S. citizens, individuals, persons.
Right. Okay. So how 'cause I'm looking at how to be able to manage it at this point in time. Okay, so you got your indigenous here. We have treaties, supreme, the supremacy clause. We have that. You have the American Indian, or what we consider to be the American Indian today, and all the other different type of titles you want with that. You have that right there, First American. Then you have the United States citizen, which is evidenced by a birth certificate, social security card, so on and so forth. Applications. Where, how can you sit in both worlds and stay neutral out of it? Right? You have this over here, you have this over here. How is that to be able to be functional without being pulled in as a surety into that de facto state?
Well, I just went to the let me think on that because I got something else on my head right quick about how I explain something. I see someone say Charlie Brown teacher. They really catch on when I explain. I kind of move too fast for the slow people in the back. So let we back up so people don't get lost, bro.
All right, go ahead.
Let we back up. By you being born, be identifying with this state as John Doe, and the state of Alabama issue you a birth certificate, and you riding around, you went to school and you use this all caps name, and you got a light bill in your name, you got a driver's license in your name, you're operating in that state. That state falls up under the full faith and credit of the United States, of the Union. You're not gonna be separated. You're actually acting under fraud. I don't know why we're not. What's the slow part about it that can't catch on to? You didn't create that. You didn't create it. You don't have no authentication to it. It's all just. It's like a false document. It's like fake money. You can't take that birth certificate and use it nowhere as accreditation to no traffic ticket or anything unless you get it authenticated. It's a fake document. They're not gonna take that document. They might take it and access it, but you're still gonna be up under that premise of owning. So, to separate yourself is the question that my man asked me. I'm trying to bring it up. This goddamn dog, the man, he must be cool out there too. Um, shut up. Um, okay, we're born in a situation that we're accessing things that doesn't belong to us. So what we need to do is correct that. Take it, authenticate it, and then create your own entity in your own likeness. Your own likeness as in a business aspect, as a corporate structured functioning government. Um, if you have a business, your business is a government, whether it's private or public. It's considered a government. You have bylaws, you have charter, you have these same requirements that it takes to make a government and a nation. You have the same thing. It's just how you're operating it. You're registered under a state. You're registered under a corporation to be incorporated. You want to be unincorporated and incorporated. You have two entities. You want to show an unincorporated and you want to show an incorporated. The incorporated is the deal up under their jurisdiction. The citizen, that's the citizen. You want to surrender and relinquish them their citizen because they created it. But you want to go in again, incorporate it under your own likeness where you control it. It's still their citizen, but you control it. You're not that citizen. At the same time, build your unincorporated a venue of operations where you can work out of your trust or work out of your estate. I- Is that an answer to what you was asking me or no?
Uh, yeah, yeah. And
The
I'm just trying to,
unincorporated and incorporated.
well, unincorporated, incorporated. It's, well, no, not that part. That's something extra. That's something on top. Like the other part, yeah. Yeah, that answers my question. The unincorporated and the incorporated. It's more of how I look at it as capturing, right? Capturing it and have control. Own nothing, control everything. So you take no ownership of it, but you do control, right? That's how I look at it. But yeah, that was the part that, yeah, I agree with.
I really want to explain this a little better for some of the people to catch on, because I might not be saying it where they can fully understand what's going on. Um,
I would say
when
this. I would say I would
yeah,
say this. I would say this. Uh, I use the word capture in regards to developing uh, uh, beneficial interest. I would say. I mean, even having ownership of it, that's one thing. I mean, that's a good thing, and having beneficial interest, being able to have that full control, and then you know, uh, turn it into your own transmitting utility, if I may, or vehicle, in order to utilize that. Then you know, that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's kind of where I focus on doing that type of business. That I don't want to, and the reason why I be slow putting that, because I don't want to do anything that would actually close those accounts out in my ignorance or my, being hasty, tapping in or doing something and changing something where it actually just deletes it or zeroes that thing out. You see what I'm saying?
yeah. Well,
Right.
all
Yeah,
right.
go ahead.
So your mom and dad was a citizen, right? As okay, let me
You
say it
wanted
up.
me to, you wanted me
As
to
my
answer that?
mom and dad was a citizen.
You
Well,
wanted
I'm
me to
I'm
answer
I'm
that?
gonna I'm gonna put myself in that place.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You don't have to. Mom and dad was identified as a citizen and had me. Cheese and bread, bro. Yeah, love is yapping. So, as my mom and dad is a citizen, and they go and have me in the hospital, and they register their property, because I never ever been identified as a natural living being. I never, my parents never put that on the records of their own estate under their own premise. They never, okay, how can I say this again? My parents never did excuse me, a claim of deed prior to the United States doing a claim of deed. Okay, so if not like I did for my kids. What I did for my kids, I ended up doing a claim of deed on them while they was in the womb. Because me and my helpmate at the time put in on put in on something, an investment for return. The investment was the kids. I put in half, she put in half. So for those 9 months prior to them coming out, I registered them in my estate as a investment, interest investment. And I put a claim on them prior to them coming out. Now, if my mother and father had a did this for me, and our mother and fathers had a did this for us, then we would have had a right to claim as a natural individual prior to the United States entity. But by them not doing this, when they was identified as citizens, anything created or produced up under the United States jurisdiction of property automatically belongs to the United States. This is what we got to understand. It's in law. This is in law. I've read it. I can't give you the exact statute, but it's in law. I've read it. So by this happening, and we're being implemented on these birth certificates, we're not being created in our own likeness. We're having someone else create that likeness for us, and now we're adapting to it. Do you understand? The first paperwork about you was created from the United States government. The first identification of you was created from the United States government. So they have all rights to that. Do we understand? You got all rights
You
to your
saying,
body. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So you saying who has all rights to that?
The United States. Get him
Well,
some shit. Turn on.
how is that under the Sesta KV Act? How is that possible?
The Sesticate automatically put all life in a right to claim, which the government has the right to claim.
Right, but isn't there a beneficiary though?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's an estate trust, right? There's an executor, there's a trustee, and there's beneficiaries. So you telling me the United States is operating from all three positions?
Yes.
Nah, that'd be treason.
You can't be a beneficiary unless you on a document, bro. When we didn't place our this is what I'm trying to tell you. When we was born, I did a totally different thing with my children. I claimed them as an investment prior to their date of birth. The United States put up a claim on the date of birth. They put the claim out. I didn't put the claim out. They created the claim. They created the bond. They created the document. They created the entity. I didn't create that. I'm just using my flesh as identity. My breath of oxygen and carbon dioxide as emittance. But the true identification in commerce is gonna be the name, the signature, all of that. All of that. They have the signature on your birth certificate is gonna be the what is it, the Secretary of State in some states, or the um Department of vital statistics.
Right.
That's gonna be the signature on your birth certificate. You ain't gonna see your signature on a birth certificate. You ain't gonna
Right.
see your signature anywhere. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, there. Oh, people say, oh, they're using our names and da. They created that name. When your parents gave you a name, they just spoke it to you. It's by mouth, word by mouth. But pencil and paper, they never orchestrated. First in line, first in time. That's always. That's always. We didn't create any documents prior to them creating a document of you. Now you take this document they created of you and access it as yourself. You're moving in fraud. You're
I
moving
mean,
in.
how is that? Okay, so you got to make that make sense. If we don't have full disclosure, how can we be participating in the fraud?
You're supposed to have full disclosure, but that's on you. Listen. If you don't, whether you know it or not, bro, once you participate in fraud, you are affiliated with fraud. Go and look it up. Pull up fraud.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
It
You're
don't
right
need
under
to be
those
no
circumstances.
acquiescence. It don't need to be no agreement. It's just your participation. So
Okay.
by us not knowing these things and we're moving in this accordance, everyone in the United States as citizens are moving under fraud, bro. Basically every black individual in this goddamn in this United States in America is moving in fraud without them knowing it.
All right.
And they
So
think it's such a big and grateful thing to be a US citizen. Lord have mercy. This shit is just people need to really go and look up what this shit is. Rights given to you that can be taken away. So you have the right to be free, which they have the right to take that away from you. Do we understand?
yeah, something that is given can be taken away.
And you
Uh,
only have freedom under the citizenry. We just read it. 42 USC 1981, 1982, 1983.
but those
Giving
freedoms
rights
are
like the huh?
those freedoms are inherent by God. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Those
no,
these are
no, no,
natural,
no.
unalienable rights. These are not
No, no.
given by Congress. These are
No, no,
actually
no,
being
no.
enforced by Congress, not
Citizen,
given,
listen, brethren,
enforced.
listen, brethren. Citizen don't have no inalienable rights. Citizen, listen, go back and read it again. You would be attached or affiliated, affirmated with the amenities of a white citizen. That means you get the rights just like this white citizen. You get rights. We're giving you rights. It's not inalienable. As a citizen, we're giving you rights. If you're not a citizen, we can't give you rights. But as a citizen, we give you these things and we can take it away. There's nothing inalienable about it. Once you claim to be a citizen, you can't run and say, oh, I got inalienable rights under God because God didn't give the citizen rights. The United States gave the citizen rights. God don't identify no citizen, bro. It's not even in the terminology of God. So we
See, that's
we do have these
where we
correct.
might differ.
We we do have
That's
these
where we
correct.
might differ.
Go ahead.
I think we differ on that point, right? Because this is the Chevron doctrine. So you have all these, you have those things that was overturned by the Supreme Court, where you have these administrative tribunals interpreting the law to fit their need. So are these constitutional protected rights or just natural rights or human rights? These are to be protected. They can't be given because you're talking about a corporate structure that's no different than a straw man. don't have legs, arms, mouth, or anything. You have people within there that have considered to now define it or redefine it in order to fit their own agenda.
Brother man, a natural man, natural woman that's not affiliated under citizenry do have inalienable rights. Can't be leaned on. But a citizen can be, bro. A citizen can be. Citizen gonna fall up on a lien of debt, a lien of tax, a lien of affiliation under statutes and codifications, where your rights can be taken from you as a citizen. The natural man that's not affiliated with that doesn't have that um privilege to be identified under those amenities of rights. This is why I keep emphasizing diplomatic immunity. This is why I keep emphasizing non-citizen. I have an entity that's a citizen. I do have an entity that's a citizen, but me, myself, the living body is identified on all paperwork as a non-citizen. I even have a diplomatic immunity with the identifications of the um, passport consulate with the United States Federal Department of DOG, Department of Justice. We I want someone to explain to me how a citizen that's granted rights up under the United States has some form of inalienable rights or inalienable rights. How is that?
Okay, so I think we agree, but I think it's being conveyed set like two different type of ways. You know what I'm saying? Because if as you say, you have this chattel. I call it chattel paper, right? You have this chattel that is actually being utilized, and that is considered to be the citizen per se. But you have private citizens, or you have people that live in the private versus the public. So if you have not captured those things or taken any type of control, then you are one and the same. It's like a sole proprietorship. You see what I'm saying? So if that's the case, then I think we do. I think we agree for the most part.
Yeah, we
I think
do,
we
we do.
agree.
But the majority of the people are not identifying themselves to the IRS or to any entity of the federal department as a sole proprietorship. Perspire, per,
Yeah, the
perspire,
proprietorship.
proprietor.
Proprietorship.
Yeah, I keep wanting to put that S in it, proprietorship. But the majority of the people, when them file any type of taxes or anything like that, is never in that site. And then you have a form, what is it? W, um, what?
Yeah, where you at? Hey, we gonna end it
Hold
pretty
on, hold
soon.
on. I'm trying to find this thing right quick.
So none of your business. W-2 or nine. So under W-2 or nine, is that in relationship to the entity, or is that relation to something else? Give me some clarity on that.
W-9. The majority of the people is not filling out W-9s, which that's going to be identified as this so-called citizen actually operating under sole proprietorship or sole proprietor. We're not filling out. I keep saying we, as in acquiescence is us as a people, as
Right.
one under as one. The majority of us, we don't fill out W-9s. We fill out W-2s and apply the W-4s and returns and shit in this nature. And some of us do 1099s and things of this nature as a corporation or using the entity as a corporation. But
Uh-huh.
the W-9 is actually going to have you identified as in sole proprietorship. It's going to give you that identification as a separation with the United States government or
All
through
right,
the
so
IRS.
peep this, right? I'm glad you said that. Now, there's tax classes, right? There's different tax classes. The most important tax classes are class 2 and class 5. So if you do 1041s, 1065s, 1120s, you have what is considered to be a class 2 tax return. But within that, there's a class 5, right? Class 5, now this is just information educational. You know what I'm saying? Just more information than anything else. I'm not an expert per se, but under Schedule K1s, right? So those 1065, 1041s, 1120s have a Schedule K form, right? That's attached to that. That is class 5, right? When you do a 1040, your Schedule B is class 5. Now, you have a tax return 709, which is completely class 5, along with the 706. Now, what are class 5, right? Class 5 is gift and estate tax forms. Let me answer this call real quick. Go ahead, Nani.
Boy, y'all hell in that chat, boy. I just going back reading the chat right now. Woo, shit. Oh my goodness, y'all hell in that chat. Tether this, tether that. Nobody give a damn. Okay, well, kick rocks. Ah, shit. No one is identifying themselves as natural or non-compliant citizens or non-citizens in compliance
All right,
or
let me get this off, and then yeah, I got people coming over, so I'm gonna have to cut it. So
all
what I
right,
was
no
saying is
problem.
that the class 5, right? So Schedule B on the 1040 is class 5. So what are the class 5 forms that get you the information returned? Just like we talk about 1099As, all 1099s, 1099s, 1098s, W2s, and W4s. Those are considered to be class 5, right? That falls under the gift and estate tax, right? And that gift and estate tax, you could claim 100% of that as a gift. Now we gonna stop right there,
All
and
right.
we gonna pick that up on the next one. So and like when you talk about W9 deal with vendors, right? You're a vendor. That's what when they give you a W9, you consider to be a vendor, and that works on both ends. So when you submit to the bank or whoever you're dealing with, whoever you actually are, you have created some letters of credit, some applications, and signed up with them in order to put them in a position as a donor, right? So as a donor, right? 709 deal with a donor, and under those circumstances, that creates the trust, and in that position, you can actually claim 100%. Now, I haven't done it, but
Really, that's what Indians is
it
really
can
really
be
identified as vendors.
okay. There you go. So that's what I'm talking about. Hey, look, yeah, shit, we on 3 hours. Appreciate you, Nadi. I'm hollering at you.
Anytime, Flash.
I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna shoot you a text, and then everybody else that came through, Copper Draco, appreciate the music. I'm gonna go ahead and end it off with that and put that Copper Draco slammer on there. That boy right there got heat. But yeah, appreciate you, ACG, American Indian, Copper Goddess, none of your business. Everybody coming through, appreciate you. We gonna get out on that. Appreciate you, Nadi.
No moving, no moving, no moving, yeah. No moving, no moving, no moving, yeah.
I'm the coach, quotes coded in oak with a ghost loaded focus. Chrome in the coat, king with the cloak, smoking that hocus pocus. Infinite styles, pivot and pile up the mileage. I'm wild with the science. You see the line on my avatar, iron jaw pride. I to devour the silence. Why you niggas steady lying? Got me laughing hard, satire and fraud. I fire the squad. Wise get crossed when I'm sparring with all the guards. Author of art, carving a mark in the bark of the market at large. Target the sharks, heart of a Spartan. I sharpen the margin with bars. You rather bargain and dodge. I'd rather you come get your taxes done. Black suit back, room facts in a stack. I'm relaxing the maximum. Get out of the pocket, the profit of rocket. Then I just might tax you punks. Racket your funds, subtracting in chunks. Reacting to acid, you're begging to punch. Sometimes my community hard-headed, scarred, dreading the lessons. I chart head and start spreading the message, embedded in pressure. Sovereign living, I'm private with it. No corporate percentage. Discharging debt with a pen stroke. You still don't notice the vision. I've been telling y'all you don't want to debate me. Weighty and ready. Great with machetes, linguistically shredding the petty. Grab these 15 acres. Landscape major, plan made paper. Land patent stamped and sacred since my campaign greater. I ain't talking about Ice-T when I say that I can show you law and order. Court recorder, I sort the torture, contort the border. I eat the case, beat the state, leave a trace in a raw supporter. Briefcase aura, got your baby mama thinking that I'm a lawyer. Seminole Indian sentiment, militant on sovereign soil. Private enrollment, tribal component. I'm the boss if you're trying to employ it.
Clutch, baby. Infinite. Stop. No moving, no moving, no moving, yeah. No moving, no moving, no moving,
I'm the coach, quotes coded in oak with a ghost loaded focus. Chrome in the coat, king with the cloak, smoking that hocus pocus. Infinite styles, pivot and pile up the mileage. I'm wild with the science. You see the line on my avatar, iron jaw pride. I to devour the silence. Why you niggas steady lying? Got me laughing hard, satire and fraud. I fire the squad. Wise get crossed when I'm sparring with all the guards. Author of art, carving a mark in the bark of the market at large. Target the sharks, heart of a Spartan. I sharpen the margin with bars. You rather bargain and dodge. I'd rather you come get your taxes done. Black suit, back room, facts in a stack. I'm relaxing the maximum. Get out of the pocket, the profit of rocket, then I just might tax you punks. Racket your funds, I'm stacking in chunks, reacting to action, you're begging to punch. Sometimes my community hard-headed, scarred, dreading the lessons. I chart head and start spreading the message, embedded in pressure. Sovereign living, I'm private with it, no corporate percentage. Discharging debt with a pen stroke, you still don't notice the vision. I've been telling y'all you don't want to debate me, weighty and ready. Great with machetes, linguistically shredding the petty. Grab these 15 acres. Landscape major, plan made paper, land patent stamped and sacred since my campaign greater. I ain't talking about Ice-T when I say that I can show you law and order. Court recorder, I sort the torture, contort the border. I eat the case, beat the state, leave a trace of the raw supporter. Briefcase aura, got your baby mama thinking that I'm a lawyer. Seminole Indian sentiment, militant on sovereign soil. Private enrollment, tribal component. I'm the boss, if you trying to employ it.